The Justin Robert Young podcast is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/JuRY. Go ahead and support this program by supporting patreon.com/JuRY. Thank you to everybody who has continued to pledge even after the first of the month, which is when people typically drop off. But we've seen an increase. Thank you. You have no idea how much that means to me. If you would like to get not only this program, but also the 3 days of politics, you back at the $3 level. That's 4 podcasts for only, 2 of them are free. Will always be free, but, you get an extra 2 if you back at the $3 level. Very excited about all of that. Go ahead and check it out. Patreon.com/JuRY. But enough of talking about how we do the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
On the day that we met on the internet, I asked her for a photograph. She sent it over to me, said, I know it's ugly. And I said, girl, ugly ain't the half, look at you. Well, you got blue teeth and you only got 2 teeth, but I kinda like to see you smile. And it appears that over the years you've turned into a big old steaming pile. And she said, yeah, I know I ain't no supermodel. I said, you ain't a hand model, baby, but that's fine, 'cause you're pretty ugly by most people's standards, but you're alright by mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you for joining us yet again for another Justin Robert Young podcast. Yeah, man. Super pumped to be with you. Super pumped that you are here with me. We got a lot to talk about. We got some culture wars. We got a dispute at a Wendy's. We got some deep questions. We got emails about whether or not my theory that everybody, kind of 1%, wants to bang most of their friends. And you want to know what? We're going to start out with this. We're going to start out with this here story because I think it's hilarious. I think it is just kind of everything that I love in life. Here we go. Let's take a look. Rich San Francisco residents get a shock. Somebody bought their street. Their what? You are listening to the streets. Always say your name twice. Let's go ahead and read. This is a San Francisco Chronicle article written by Mattier and Ross. That's a weird byline. I guess they're a team? A writing team? Maybe they split one salary? Who knows? Thanks to a little-noticed auction, a South Bay couple are now the proud owners of one of the most exclusive streets in San Francisco, and they're looking for ways to make their purchase pay. Tina Lamb and Michael Chang snatched up the Presidio Terrace, a block-long private oval street lined by 35 mega-million-dollar mansions for $90,000 in change in a city-run auction stemming from their unpaid tax bill. They outlasted several other bidders. And now they are looking to cash in, maybe by charging the residents of those mansions to park on their own private street. You know what we love on this show. We love rich crimes. We love rich on rich crimes. We love poor on rich crimes. Anytime that we get some rich people getting into some shit, Love it. Love it. Eat it up. Nom, 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 nom. These residents value their privacy, the story goes on, and their exclusivity. Past homeowners have included Senator Dianne Feinstein and her financier husband, Richard Bloom, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, and late Mayor Joseph Alioto. A guard is stationed around the clock at their stone gate entrance to the street to keep the curious away. So imagine their surprise when San Jose residents Cheng and Lam wound up with the street, its sidewalks, and every bit of common ground in the private development that has been managed by the homeowners since at least 1905. That includes a string of well-coiffed garden islands, palm trees, another greenery that enhanced the gated and guarded community at the end of Washington Street, just off Arguello Boulevard, down the hill from the Presidio. We just got lucky, said Cheng, a real estate investor. So here's the funny part about it. Here's how they got it. Apparently, allegedly, what happened was the owner, the homeowners association that had previously owned the street had to pay a tax bill per year. They have not paid that tax bill in 3 decades. So, go ahead. If you know the answer, don't answer in the chat. But in your head, if you're listening to this right now, think about how much that yearly tax bill was. Take a guess. If you don't know, then answer in the chat. If you do know, keep quiet. I want to see in general what people think that tax bill was. W. Scottus once is $5,000. I mean, listen, it's an expensive street, expensive people. Stoic Squirrel says a lot. Another, I mean, that to me is probably synonymous with $5,000, right? That's a lot of money. Captain Kipper points out it was on screen. Okay, yeah, but most of the people who listen to this are audio listeners trying to do a little theater of the mind here. This tax bill per year that was not paid for 3 decades was $19. $19 goddamn dollars. Alexa, what's 19 times 36?
19 multiplied by 36 is 684.
$684. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. Wait a minute. I want to go ahead and apologize to everybody. The JuRY Show has made a grievous error. It is not $19 a year in property tax. It is $14 a year. $14 a year. Alexa, what's 14 times 36?
14 multiplied by 36 is 504.
$504. In a letter to the city last month, Scott Embledge, an attorney for the Presidio Homeowners Association, said the group had failed to pay up because its tax bill was being mailed to the Kearney Street address used by an accountant who hadn't worked for the homeowners since the 1980s. Man, rich people are hilarious. Rich people are hilarious. There is so much going on for a rich person. They're doing so much, man. They're playing polo. They're reading Harper's Bazaar. They're going for the first 5 minutes of a Black Lives Matter protest. Like, there's a lot of shit that is in a rich person's day. They're making plans for a late brunch. There's maybe a trip to Chico's in there. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes on for a rich person. You're pretending to enjoy opera. People think this shit is easy to be rich. It ain't, man. It's hard. Sometimes you forget that your accountant hasn't worked for the Homeowners Association since Ronald Reagan was president. You're reading the New Yorker magazine while dressed like the motherfucker on the cover of the New Yorker magazine? That's a lot. That takes up a bunch of your day. So meanwhile, this thing goes up for auction, and this real estate investor, who I assume watches these auctions like a hawk, is like, yeah, nipa. We're going to take that. We're going to take that. And then what we're going to do, says this realist, I'm going to play the role of this real estate investor from San Jose. Yeah, okay, so here's the deal. It's mine now. And you can do one of two things. Considering that the city, without notifying the Homeowners Association, just sold me the street for $90,000, you can go ahead and figure out all that and try to get this overturned. Let's see how fast that goes. And in the meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and start charging everybody. So you can just go ahead and call me. What is my name again? My name is Tina Lamb and Michael Chang. You can go ahead and call Lamb's Parking Permits. Reach me at 555. Gotcha, bitch. And we are going to charge you $25 a day, so you can park on our street. Which, by the way, we're renaming Fuck You, Pay Me Drive. That's the new name. The new name of the street. So just go ahead and update your your address, right? Because otherwise your mail's not going to get here. You're going to go ahead and say I now live at 123 Fuck You, Pay Me Drive. Or you can just give me $3 million. And you can have the street. You want to know what? You can just go ahead and have the street. Oh, that's a vulgar name. That's a vulgar name? I can't rename your street. Fuck you. Oh, number one, it's my street. I can't rename my street Fuck You, Pay Me Drive because it's an expletive. Well, obviously, you have never heard the fantastic tale of Edgar Fuck You, Pay Me, who settled this area of San Francisco. He's a footnote in history. It's a real disgrace that he doesn't get the kind of press attention that he deserves. So how about you go ahead and put down that cucumber sandwich of yours, pull out that PayPal account, and get to your beep, boop, boop, boop until I got $3 million. Love it. Love rich on rich crime. We got to follow this one. I think I want to email this guy to see what he wants to do. Speaking of cucumber sandwiches, we got another silly story coming up. But I want to do a serious story here so we can stagger him a little bit. This here is an article from Quartz. People in rich countries are dying of loneliness. This is a article by Cassie Werber. Cassie Werber. Sociologists have long been warning about the dangers of increased isolation thanks to aging populations, scattered families, and cultures that promote the individual over the collective. Now, new research analyzing previous studies suggests people who fall into the loneliness trap are 50% more likely to suffer an early death than those who remain socially connected. Previous studies have found that as many as a third of Americans are lonely and that 18% of UK adults felt lonely always or often. The latest research, which collated studies from two meta-analyses, collected the issue of isolation of health to specifically premature death. Juliana Holt Lundstedt, a professor of psychology at BYU in Utah, presented the meta-studies at a meeting of the American Psychological Association last week. The first, which involved 148 studies representing more than 300,000 participants, found that greater social connection was associated with a 50% reduced risk of dying early. A second meta-analysis took in 70 studies representing 3.4 million people from U.S., Europe, Asia, and Australia and found that the effect of isolation, loneliness, and living alone had an effect on the risk or of dying younger equal to that of obesity. Now, here's the kicker. Such epidemics, while not confined to rich countries, are prominent features of affluent cultures. You have a longer life expectancy, decreased marriage rates, people having fewer children, more people getting divorced, and more people living alone. In January, UK lawmakers set up a commission to tackle loneliness, inspired by the murder of Joe Cox, a member of parliament who is passionate about the issue, which is now working with a range of charities focused on at-risk groups, including the elderly, refugees, young people, and new parents. So, I want to ask you, the jury audience, are you lonely? Right now, not in life, not last year, not in a year from now, right now. Are you lonely? I assume that by and large, the vast majority of the people that listen to this show are in general what we would refer to as affluent countries, Western countries by and large. So I wonder, we're seeing a lot of yeses. I want y'all to email in, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Has your loneliness ever worried you? Have you ever been worried about your life specifically because you were lonely? Because this kind of got me thinking. You know, what is the worst part about loneliness? Because in my mind, depression and loneliness, I've always kind of put hand in hand. I don't know if I should. Probably shouldn't. But I have. Because I can be a depressive person at times. By at times, I mean most times. I have to work very hard. I have to be very, very disciplined to not allow myself to slip into depressive moods. It is why I tend to identify with people who have outward depression kind of traits. Because I can recognize them, because I know these feelings intimately. However, I've never really felt physically lonely. In fact, I have never lived by myself. And I probably won't. I mean, until Ashley divorces me. I probably won't. Because I was born into my family, raised by my family, went to college, had a roommate, moved out of the dorms into an apartment with roommates, moved to be an adult in New York City, had roommates, moved back down to Florida, had roommates, moved out to California, and I probably would have gotten a place by myself if Ashley hadn't moved out, but she did. So, in my mind, although I felt emotionally isolated, I felt emotionally without support, I've never physically been without support, and I've always had some kind of social structure around me, which is cool. I like it. Now, I've always done well being by myself, but I don't know if I've ever felt this kind of lonely. And yet, because I've spent so much time on the internet, I feel like there is a high correlation of people who are physically lonely that find internet communities and are dedicated to internet communities. So, like, I would be the anomaly because I'm around people. I've always been around people, and yet I am very dedicated to the internet community for which we enjoy right now. And yet, in many of my interactions, I've realized that the opposite is kind of true. So this doesn't really have a big point to it. I just found that article interesting, and I would be curious to hear your guys' philosophy on loneliness, because I sure as hell saw a shit ton of people that were like, yeah, no, I'm lonely. I'm lonely a lot. So I'm curious. Does it worry you? And did your loneliness instigate you finding podcasts, Twitch, message boards, Discord, video games, whatever it is? Let me know. Let me know. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. Put JuRY in the subject line. Sandwich Brad says that he's basically a hermit. One of my best friends, I love him, and I haven't talked to him in a while, but I got to reach back out, is my college roommate, Sean Brucher. But he was somebody that had a lot of social anxiety, despite the fact that he was maybe the most charismatic person that I had ever met to that point. He was electric, live wire, man. You put him in a group, he was just killing it, crushing it with the ladies, just the belle of the ball. Always a center of attention. And yet, he got more and more isolated by his own design. And as I was getting into internet stuff, I was like, man, you should do internet stuff, and you should just record in your little hermit cave. And I suggested he call it Live from the Hermitage. I thought it was a great idea. He didn't think it was a great idea. I gotta talk to my boy Shawnee Bruch. Let's get into another funny story. Speaking of those cucumber sandwiches. Man arrested after threatening Wendy's worker about a lack of cucumbers. This is in New Holland, Pennsylvania. New Holland, Pennsylvania. Let's find out. Where is New Holland, PA? Oh, it's in Lancaster County. Lancaster County. Let's take a look. Where is it? Where is it? I like to judge people based on where they live. It's my hobby. So look at this. All right. So it's about, an hour outside of Philly? Yeah. That's like Amish country. We're getting into Amish country here now. Look at that. New Holland. All right. Let's see what kind of shit's popping off in New Holland. Police say a Pennsylvania man ranted that there weren't enough cucumbers on his Wendy's salad before he threw his food at the employee and made a threat. Police say they were called to the fast food restaurant on Sunday afternoon in New Holland after 58-year-old Theodore Gunderson Jr. cursed, threw his salad at an employee, and said, "If I had a gun or a knife, you'd be the first to go." Oh, God damn it, old man. Why are you being a real butt? This isn't even like, he didn't pull it. This is the difference between Pennsylvania and Florida. If that was Florida, it would have been a gun. Florida, we don't fuck around like that. No. You don't lay enough cukes on my Wendy's salad. I'm pulling heat. That's stand your ground shit right there. If I had a knife or a gun, you'd be the first to go. What about a knife? Yeah, a bayonet. I hope that's what that Wendy's motherfucker said to him back. What, you mean a bayonet, you old codger? You old bag of dirt shit. The clerk called the police, and officers arrived to find Gunderson in his vehicle with the windows rolled up. Police say Gunderson eventually rolled down his window, but then tried to drive away as the officer reached inside. Online court records don't list an attorney for Gunderson. He remained jailed Friday on aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and other charges. Ace Fox says, yeah, that's the difference between East Central PA and Pittsburgh. Sup for the Berg. Reppin'. You old coot. Man, that's a sad. This is a garbage story. I don't like this story. Who wrote this? Oh, it's the AP. Y'all know how AP stories work? There is somebody who literally just is in a bureau for the AP that just has to write about whatever's going on. Doesn't matter if it actually like is news. They just got to write it up. This is how this story works. Do you guys know how this story comes to be? I'll pull the curtain a little bit. I'll open the kimono a little bit. If you want to know how any of these stories work, here's what happens. It's very lonely. It'll dovetail to our earlier story. This is also the reason, by the way, that Florida has the reputation that it does. So when you are on the cops beat, the crime beat, as it were, what really happens is you go down to the police department, you ask them for their arrest reports from the previous 24 hours or 48. It varies by department. And they give you a binder. Sometimes it's handwritten. Usually it's typed. And you just flip through and you see literally all the activity of that police department. Everybody they pulled over for, if they issued a ticket for littering, if they, whatever. Anything that a police officer did, boom, it's in there. DUIs, the whole shebang. So the reason why this is written the way it's written, you'll notice that there's no firsthand quotes. And they use stuff like police say. We used to always have it in our style at the Daily Orange when I used to write these reports as according to a report by blank. But this person who wrote this did not talk to anybody. They didn't talk to the Wendy's salad person, or they didn't have to write this story. They didn't talk to the police. They read the police report. And so that's what police say here is. And that's why all of this is written the way it is, because this is how a police report is written. At 5:45 p.m., Officer Bleep Dingle walked into the Wendys in New Holland at 444 Eat Poop Drive, wherein a clerk by the name of blank said that Theodore Gunderson Jr. made a threat. So that's, they said exactly that if I had a gun or a knife, you'd be the first to go. That's the first paragraph in the police report. The second paragraph of the police report, which goes in chronological order, is we were then informed that Gunderson was in his car in the parking lot. After approaching Gunderson in his car, the officer blank noticed that his windows were rolled up. Officer blank asked Gunderson to roll down his windows. Basically, it's that. But it's all in chronological order, which is not usually how shit is written. Shit is normally written in a news hierarchical format. So you would just say, 58-year-old man threatened to kill a Wendy's employee for not putting enough cucumbers on his salad. And then you'd usually have a quote from everybody. So that's how these things happen. Now, why does this mean that Florida has a worse reputation than everybody else? Is it the meth? Is it the guns? Is it the racism? Yes, yes, and yes. But, yes, and Yes, and Florida has statewide laws on what police stations have to provide to the public, and reporters are probably the biggest beneficiary of it. So, you know a lot more about what the police are up to in Florida than you do in, say, Pennsylvania or other states in the country, which means you just get more of the dirt. The more you know. And with that, we get probably the most controversial topic of today's episode. We got some culture wars. I knew this one, man. I knew this was trouble when it walked in. Google. We all know it. We all love it. You might be watching this on the YouTube owned by Google. I've been lucky enough to know a bunch of Google employees. I've done, probably dozens of their team building events for the Go game when I was there. That always seemed like a company that everybody was happy at, within reason. Someone's going to find something to bitch about at any job, right? Tom's wife used to work at Google, used to work in the YouTube space. One of the things that I had always heard is that internally, there's a very lively discussion at a lot of these tech companies. Slack has replaced a lot of it, but Google's got their own systems for internal communication. So, over the weekend, news broke that there was an internal memo that was lighting Google on fire internally. It was very critical, 10 pages, very critical of Google's diversity offerings. So I am going to read now from what was published by Gizmodo of the beginning of this this memo. In fact, I'm going to very intentionally curtail what I read for artistic purpose. But let's go ahead and get into this. I value diversity and inclusion, and I am not denying that sexism exists, and don't endorse using stereotypes. When addressing the gap in representation in the population, we need to look at population-level differences in distribution. If we can't have an honest discussion about this, then we can never truly solve the problem. Psychological safety is built on mutual respect and acceptance, but unfortunately, our culture of shaming and misrepresentation is disrespectful and unaccepting of anyone outside its echo chambers. Despite what the public response seems to have been, I've gotten many personal messages from fellow Googlers expressing their gratitude for bringing up these very important issues, which they agree with, but would never have the courage to say or defend because of our shaming culture and the possibility of being fired. Put a pin in that one. This needs to change. He then has his TLDR, which I will read in full. Google's political bias has equated the freedom from offense with psychological safety, but shaming into silence is the antithesis of psychological safety. This silencing has created an ideological echo chamber where some of the ideas are too scared to be honestly discussed. The lack of discussion fosters the most extreme and authoritarian elements of this ideology. Extreme equaling all disparities in representation are due to oppression, and authoritarian in that we should discriminate to correct for this oppression. Differences in distributions of traits between men and women may in part explain why we don't have 50% representation of women in tech and leadership. Discrimination to reach equal representation is unfair, divisive, and bad for business. Now, I am not here to debate this manifesto. And I'd be lying to you if I said that I read all of it. In fact, I will make very, very clear that I've probably read 70%. I have read the most controversial parts. But what I want to talk to you guys about is not about whether or not this is good or bad. Because I'm going to lay forth this idea just to get started. This is a weaponized document for Google, and almost intentionally, although I don't know if it is intentionally, but it might as well in its effectiveness have been intentional, there to explode our culture war, which I will say is something that is far more persistent than I would have given it credit for about 3 years ago. And that culture war, I will say, simply is a battle of the sexes, however you would want to define that. Not necessarily saying that it is men versus women, but rather the lines in which we draw gender are being disputed on both sides. So, let me oversimplify this document by saying that I looked at it and I read, I am writing this effectively to say we need to have more understanding and open and honest dialogue about bad takes. And to prove it, I'm about to drop a really bad take. Preamble. Deal with bad takes or you are stifling conversation and dialogue and therefore creating a worse culture and a worse business. Chaser. Here's a bad take. Do something with it. So they did something with it. They fired this dude. When I was talking to John, my co-creator on The Contender, he called it from the second that we were talking about it. He's like, yeah, that dude's got to go. And I'm like, really? I mean, it kind of seems like it's exactly playing into what the worst thing you could do with that. Like, the best thing that you could do, in my opinion, is because ultimately nobody really cares about Google's internal metrics, their internal culture. Google is effectively just going to ride wherever the average line of what people think about Silicon Valley companies are. So if you let this go for a week, suspend him, then you quietly let him go a month from now. The story will be, oh, remember that thing? That guy got fired. But they fired him yesterday. This shit broke on Saturday. What I found fascinating about it is that even in Google's memo, they kind of had to eat this guy's butt. Because they kind of had to say, they kind of had to pull my black friends argument. They're like, we're not racist, but you're fired. We're not against free speech, but you gotta go. We are not here to stifle dialogue based on political lines, but you gotta hit the bricks. I can say with almost 100% certainty, there was only one group of people that was very, very, very excited about this whole controversy. One people. One group. And I don't think that this is even debatable. I don't think that this is even something that you can come in on the other side of from me. This is 100% true. The people that were made the happiest about this story. Everybody who works at Uber. That's who. That's who. Everybody who works at Uber. Everybody who works at Uber was forwarding this story to everybody they knew. And they were just like, oh my God, you hear about that Google shit? Oh my God, that's so fucked up. Can you believe that? Oh, geez, how disgusting. I don't know. That's just gross. Man, really, more should be made about this Google thing. Oh my God. I'm sure Uber is just, Uber's doing backflips. Uber's just like, oh, finally, for one day, we're not the shitty sexist company in San Francisco. Nailed it. They got just reply all. Everybody in Uber was forwarding that story like your grandpa forwards some old urban legend. Everybody's inboxes were just jammed by like forward that Google story. And it's just everybody from Uber forwarding it to each other out to their entire address books. Not says, can you really say if you fire me, you're a dick, and then do something to piss off your boss and not get fired? Well, it depends on what this dude wants to do, because, and this has to go into your calculus. That dude's a martyr now. On the anti-feminist right. Woo! And I don't even know if it's even safe to call it the right, because I know a lot of super liberal people that are like anti-feminist, that are in this culture war. Like, they think that dude's a hero. I saw some memes of this dude. Here we go. I think it was right here. This guy is getting memes as if he's Martin Luther. He's like nailing his 99 thesis. I mean, he's gonna make the rounds. I'm sure Milo, I can't pronounce his last name, is probably, rolling up to his crib right now. He's about to make that dude famous. What is his name? Something Damone or something. So this is the story from Russell Brandom of The Verge. Over the weekend, an anti-diversity manifesto written by a Google employee went viral both within the company and outside of it, drawing harsh criticism from both president and former Googlers. But some agreed with the document, and alongside muted agreement from pockets within the company, the author seems to have found louder supporters in a more familiar place, the online right. The author's name first surfaced in right-wing blogs this morning. The Verge has decided not to publish the employee's name, but Recode reported he has been the subject of online threats. Oh, shit. Sorry if I said his name. Sundar Pichai is like, I feel like me and that dude might still have sex. Why? I made that bitch famous. God damn. Person identified by these blogs is a Google employee, and sources within the company indicate that his name is included in the circulated manifesto. As executives within Google have rushed to criticize the document, a number of online outlets have come to the author's defense, often praising him by name. One outlet described him as the only set of balls left at the company, while another said he deserved a bonus for calling attention to the situation. Novelist and anti-feminist pundit Vox Day has also applauded the manifesto as a corrective to social justice culture at Google, describing the company's relatively muted response as reasonable. Yo, that was until that dude got fired. On 4chan's /poll board, one user summarized the situation by adopting the language of men's rights, describing the author as red-pilled programmer, complaining about the blue pills at the company. So, I mean, these culture wars, man, they're on. I don't get them much. You know, I don't really get so much worked up about it. Like, and generally, I think that memo, I find that memo fascinating more than I have an opinion on it. Because, again, I ain't read it. I've read some breakdowns of it that criticize some of the science that he used, said that he cherry-picked. But I don't know enough to say whether or not he's right or wrong. It seems to me like a bad take. But again, that's the fascinating part about it, is he's like, tolerate bad takes. Prove it. Here's a bad take. Do something. So, yeah, I don't know. This culture war thing is the anti-feminist thing, like, or even the militant feminist thing. I don't think we talked about it, but like, it's been really interesting to watch my buddy Lacey Green just get shredded because now she's dating some dude who does, you know, I guess anti-feminist videos. Like, she ain't changed her opinion. She's still who she is. But I don't know how to classify that other dude, her new boyfriend's videos. But she's gotten shredded by the people that used to have her back. And that shit went quick. Real quick. That was weird to watch. Because I don't know if I know many more people that are more leftist or down with the cause than Lacey. And, like, we know we're friends with her, Ashley and I. Like, that's not a joke. That ain't an act. Like, she's a chick from Berkeley. Like, an ex-Mormon who lived in Berkeley until she moved to L.A. Like, that was weird. It was weird to watch it. Anyhow. All right. Let's go ahead and get into your emails. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. We're going to get into the banging your friend stuff in a second. Let's start with Everett. On the topic of people being worked up over airlines lately, there's a protest going on near my house, outside our temporary transportation building. We are to the point of hanging people in effigy. Everett is in El Ciudad, Mexico. The protest is about a deal between the states and Mexico's respective air departments arranging a joint international airline service between the two countries. As someone who flies across the border fairly often, I wouldn't mind the whole process getting streamlined. The process is now that some routes would be operated by Aeromexico would be going to Delta Airlines instead. Now, I understand that the issue about jobs and money going to an American airline and specifically, and that specific airline, it probably doesn't matter. Still, I would love to believe that this is more because people would do anything to avoid flying Delta, even to the point of implicit threats of violence. So Mexico's popping off right now. Mark in Greenville, South Carolina writes, I just listened to this week's episode and wanted to encourage you. I believe in you. You have inspired me a great deal to the point where I've been doing a podcast about my local music scene for almost a year, and I've expanded the size of my community. I get to record bands and shoot videos with them on a regular basis, and I've started to feel appreciated and recognized for my work. This never would have happened had I not started to listen to the JuRY show during one of the darkest times of my life. Your drive has honestly inspired me to get out and do my thing. Thank you. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Love that stuff. It's not always got to be people in their darkest hour. If you're in your brightest hour, go ahead and email us. We want to keep this party going. Matthew writes, thank you. Your last episode, Rich on Rich Crime, was exactly what I needed to hear at the exact moment I needed to hear it. I've also been going through a lot, trying to build and grow so that I can provide a better life for myself and my family. Great opportunities have begun to sprung up, and hard work seems to be paying off. However, there is always a chance when you do something new that you will fall flat on your face and you'll have nothing to show for it. This is my greatest doubt, which leads to the fear that I will let down my friends and family. This self-same doubt was clouding my mind while I was at work. It made me think that I could not do what in my heart I knew I wanted to and needed to do. Then out of the blue, a robust voice of a wise fool came blaring into my ears saying, hey, give yourself credit, have fun, I believe in you. And that forced me to smile. Those words have put my doubts and opportunities in perspective and to think that just for a moment, there was a little sunshine on the horizon. So thank you. Keep up the good work and please don't die. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you to Matthew. Thank you to Mark in Greenville, South Carolina. South Kakalaki. All right, let's get into banging your friends. I put forth this idea on the show yesterday that I think it is totally natural and normal, if not making the most sense, that you should feel, or many people feel, that you kind of want to bang your friends like 1%. Not to say that you will bang your friends, not to say that you should bang your friends. Just that if there's ever a time where you're hanging out with your friends and you're like, God damn, like, you're a sexy motherfucker. You know, another time, another world. Maybe. I think it's the reason why we feel like we want to hook our friends up. We want to find friends that we would kind of find sexual value in and put them together. Because on some level, maybe that scratches that 1% itch. We had a bunch of emails about this. Here were the 3 best. Crunchy wrote, you posed a question about whether everybody wants to bang their friends, even if only a little bit. I will admit that there have been times when I have drank too much and had sex with a friend. However, when I'm drunk, I want to have sex with anyone, regardless of how much I actually really want to have sex with them. There have been people that I would never normally want to have sex with ever. However, in my non-blackout life, there is a direct correlation between how good of friends I am with somebody and how much I do not want to have sex with them. I have friends that I initially talked to because they were really attractive. The better friends I became with them, the more they seem like family, which, like, I'm not into. However, if somebody is an acquaintance or someone you see casually about 3 times a year, it's still totally acceptable. I have no desire to have sex with any of my friends, and this is coming from a hypersexual, near-sex addict. Besides, with strangers, you never have to see them again, and you could do weird stuff. Fair point. Now, again, I feel like we're getting a little bit off track with my initial theory. My initial theory was more like 1%, like just the back of your mind voice. Not a drive, not a goal, not something that happens periodically. 1%. 1%. I will say, though, that having sex with your friends, that takes effort. Having sex with your friends and maintaining a friendship takes more effort than being in a relationship. That's 100% true. Now, Yagan writes, Bye Guy here with an interesting perspective on this. Being in my friend circle moves you higher into the fuck or not fuck category because you're at least decent enough person to make the friend cut. This is what I'm talking about. Yegan goes on. Now, granted, I'm a bit of an odd duck in that I've had an open relationship with my partner since we were both teens in high school, way back in 98. I guess I was a teen in high school then. Okay. I was going to call him young, and then I realized that I'm the same age. All right, we're the same age, Yegan. There are pluses and negatives to banging your friends. Breakups are a bitch. Imagine banging both members of a friend couple who then have a toxic fallout. Oi, the drama. That's a great sentence. Add in that most of my friends are kink and sex positive folks. That means that more of a reality as people are fucking more freely. Sometimes this does make it through a board game night a bit more, making it through a board game night a bit more difficult. Your contender game has been witness to some truly heathenness acts. I don't even know how you wash those cards, so just put them aside before everything gets real freaky. All right, so there's that. And I agree with that. Now, I have not necessarily been in an open relationship or been in a friend circle that would describe itself as kink and sex positive. I have, however, had sex with a few of my friends. And there were some dicey moments. A lot of communication had to happen. And I'm sure on some level there were some hurt feelings at a certain point. But all of them survived, which I'm good. I'm good about. Waffleovicus points out, don't wash the cards. Buy a new one at thecontender.us. Anonymous Diamond writes, the friend sex thing is not weird. I got hot friends with amazing personalities, but you're right. It's very 1%-ish. I was going to write why I think that, but it goes into a lot of stuff that I'm sure no one wants to hear. Long story short, consent and trust are sexy. That's the root of it. Nah, we're probably all just weird. Anonymous Diamond, thank you for writing in because I think this is what I wanted to get across. That actual sex, healthy sex, good sex, even with a friend or not, is based on the idea that we both want to have sex. The 1% element is more on the all right, if I'm going to do a scan of the world, who would I categorize as prospective sexual partners and who would I not? It would stand to reason that in that broadest of scans, that people that you have brought into your life voluntarily would probably stand a pretty good shot of clearing the scan, right? They're trustworthy, they're likable, they're charismatic, they keep secrets. There's a lot of things that we would categorize as, moving yourself further in that process, in my opinion. That's just, just where I see things. And now one final email. So you wondered, this is Blair. Blair offered to rub my back and butt to help with my hurt back lately. And then I jokingly said, because he was writing in about another guy who said that he might have been hit on by a gay guy. So I asked gay people to write in who would be more familiar with the gay mating dance to see whether or not they thought it was a gay come on. So I made the offhand joke, maybe I just got hit on by a gay guy. Blair writes back, so you wondered if by offering to rub your butt to fix your sciatica, but not to offer to rub one out for you, if it was indeed a pass being made by this gay guy. I will say neither yes nor no. Just rest assured your virtue is safe because I know for a fact your wife could kick my ass if I tried anything. Thank you, Blair. And if it was a gay come on, it is accepted and validated in good faith. And yes, she could probably kick your ass. That about wraps it up for this edition of the JuRY Show.
What do you say we
Folks, thank you for Dadak for our music. I don't know if we play his music anymore. Email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Put JuRY in the subject line if you would like to email about anything that you have heard today. Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat is Justin R. Young. If you want to watch us live, you can go to justinryoung.tv. That leads you to Twitch TV/Justin R. Young. We record at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. And, of course, you can hashtag join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, reminding you to please don't die.
How your hair gets cut. Do you like when your friends fuck up? Don't you think you have had enough? I'll need more advice till something
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.